Excuse me. It's not the 24th. It's on
last
All
year.
right, are we ready? Okay, we'll go live.
Live.
Good morning, welcome to the 2019 committee meeting. We'll start with introductions. I'm Rick Ringeisen, I'm from Lakeville South, and I'm your true team chairman. And Todd, would you please move the camera?
Sure.
Let everybody else introduce themselves and where they're from.
Chris Arsa, Minneapolis Southwest.
Jeff Mace, Edina.
Tanya Iverson, Simley.
Megan Weiss, visitation in Eastridge.
Yeah, Brian Luke Stillwater.
Kelly Boston, Eden Prairie.
Doug Donaldson, Coon Rapids.
Welcome, well, let's get right to business.
Todd Walsh, Bloomington Kennedy.
Oh, did you put the camera on yourself?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, that's where you threw me for a loop, Todd. Todd Walsh is behind the camera, everybody. And Todd is our host, and we'd like to thank Todd for hosting this meeting today. We'd like to do it inside the 494 loop, 694 loop, so that we have an opportunity for everybody to get their self into the metro rather than go out to a remote location. Our executive council for the True Team includes myself as chairman. The Class A director is Warren Fairbanks from Hutchinson. And for girls and for AA girls, it's Jeff Mason and Edina. For boys, the Class A director is James Schreiner from Sauk Center. And the boys AA director is Scott Johnson from Edina. Glad that we have such a great turnout for today's meeting. The first thing we want to do today is confirm our True Team dates. Chris is our state meet manager. Are all those dates and times correct?
Yes, they are.
All right.
Did you want to talk about the possibility of starting earlier?
On what date? You're talking about the girls, or is that for the boys?
On the 19th, actually, the Gophers are out of town. You can likely start at 10 a.m. if you'd like. Gophers are out of town on the 25th as well. So both the girls and the boys.
I'd be in favor of that.
Okay, so what we're making the decision for Class A, we have only one Class A coach here.
Should we
There's two.
Yeah, two of
Two?
us.
should we verify
Oh, yeah,
that that's still a possibility? And if so, move forward with
Sure, you
I mean,
need
I'm
it back
guessing
an
it
hour?
would be 10 a.m. warm up, 11 a.m. start, so you'd be starting 2 hours early.
It's a long drive.
Or if you
It's a long drive
want
for
to,
some people.
So that would mean some pretty early departure times in the morning for some schools coming in from the outstate.
or if you just wanted to do 11 a.m. warm up, noon start instead of 1, so then that would be an hour earlier.
I think that would be a better choice.
Or we just stay with what we've done forever.
Well, we finish up about 9:30, 10 o'clock with the AA. And this gives us an hour in between to move. It's worked well. What's the feeling of the committee?
I think 11 o'clock warm up is manageable.
Okay, so then do we move the AA up to then?
Mm-hmm.
I would, for
I would.
officials purposes, if it's the same official. So.
Right. They're using the facility. We'll just get everybody home an hour earlier at night. Okay. So then, I have a motion.
Is this on the girls' day? Just the girls?
Girls and boys.
We have the
Girls and
ability-
boys.
Yeah,
I move that we move the meets up 1 hour for boys and girls and AA.
Second.
God, you ready this down?
I'm not taking notes, actually.
Okay, that's all right. I'll do it. Okay, I have a motion by Brian Lucas Stillwater and Doug Donaldson from Rapids to move the schedule up to the true team state meets for boys and girls by 1 hour. For Class A, that would mean an 11 a.m. warm-up and a 12 noon meet. And Class AA would have a 4 p.m. warm-up and a 5 p.m. start on their meet. Any discussion?
We also have a remote motion to move the state meet via text to Fargo.
All right, well, we have,
So let's do these times.
Yeah.
this is on the.
And I'm gonna addend this that it's pertaining that we do still have a facility.
Yep.
Otherwise we would revert back.
Okay,
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's our understanding. I just wanna be sure.
If the facility changes on us.
Oh, well,
We're back.
good point.
well, we have to,
All in favor?
we have to go with the motion that's on
Okay.
the table first. And all those in favor of Brian's motion and Doug's second,
Alright,
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Jeff?
Well,
Amendment?
I think, Chris is referring to, he believes he has that time, but he does not have to add in the means with the normal time. So I make a motion if we do not have the facility earlier, if we only have the facilities at the time currently printed, we stick with those times.
Second,
My second.
Megan? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right. We have a motion via text.
to the true team state meet to Fargo.
We'd be moving it out of state.
Is there a specific pool up there?
The boundaries of Minnesota now.
But we don't know the availability of that pool either. We don't know the dates.
Is there a specific pool?
Would be like, it's the,
Probably that
Somebody
new
that
pool,
knew
right?
Yeah.
Don Holbert or whatever.
it's the Albert.
Center.
They had a lot of meets there last year, so. But they had high school meets too. They had 2 separate invites last.
Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. All right. Let's go on to the confirmation of section host schools. These are the host schools that we listed at our business meeting in April. It was May this year, wasn't it? It was May. May. Do you have a motion to accept these host schools?
Section 2 AA girls should be Prior Lake,
2 AA girls.
and I thought boys was Minnetonka. I don't know if they confirmed or not.
Are they hosting again?
Prior Lake said they would host again.
For the girls. And then Minnetonka, you're saying it could be Tonka?
Minnetonka said they could get it on their calendar.
What, do you want me to change it on this host sheet, Rick, or you want me to leave it?
Leave it because I spoke to those coaches and I was assuming that somebody would get back to me, but I'll follow up.
I'll just leave them as it is then.
You text me. Thank you.
And I think, is this one,
This is the one that's the original.
Oh, okay,
This is not the new one you created.
okay. Section 5A, girls should be Sauk Rapids.
Wait.
What?
I think Sauk Rapids, one of those teams moved up to double A. They're no longer a single A team.
Yeah, let's look.
It's either Sartell or Sauk Rapids. 8 double A, they're in 8 double A.
This is girls.
Yep.
See
Are
that?
you on the current year?
Yeah, 2019, 2020, 2020.
Pretty sure. Oh my gosh, section. What are the teams in that section?
In 8AA, it's Brainerd, Buffalo, River, and Grove, Moorhead, Rogers, Tech, and St. Mike.
I think it's one of those teams up there. Unless they, I didn't think you were supposed to be able to drop.
That section never changed from.
They changed this year.
Did they?
Oh shoot, what's going on? You got Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Guest Wi-Fi. If it needs a password, it's wireless. The word wireless.
You want me
Pretty
to
high
look
tech.
up Sauk Rapids? Or?
You wanna go ahead and look. I hate the new way the section pages.
It's saying they're in 5A.
Well, then they must have changed because they were listed.
All right. Well, confirmation will be made at all coaches.
Hold on, let me look at this, I think. Girls 2A, or sorry, girls 5AA. It is YZA. That is hosted.
You might want to check. with
No,
that.
I don't think so.
They have a brand new Elizabeth Stacken.
I had an email discussion between YZA and Spring Lake Park.
Elizabeth's.
Oh, good. That's great. I was part of that.
I believe that they,
No, Wayzata wanted to, and we decided to stay with Spring Lake Park because they committed. Because Wayzata offered their pool for somebody else to host.
There's 2 sections.
That was the boys that we were talking about. With Wayzata.
yeah, the YZA boys they wanted someone else to host at their pool. The
That's
YZA girls, Elizabeth Hansen emailed me a couple weeks ago and said they will host.
Yeah, but whose turn is it?
They don't have a schedule.
They don't have a schedule.
Spring Lake Park hosted last year. They were open to letting YZA host.
This is new information for me.
Okay.
Elizabeth didn't contact me.
Okay.
And I didn't hear from you either, but at the clinic, we decided on Spring Lake Park.
Right, and Greg emailed me and said, I sent you the updated list though.
Right, but I work on the original. I'm not a one-off. To see the original, everybody, Todd has access, Chris has access, everybody has access. I want you to work on the original document.
Well, the Spring Lake Park is not hosting. It's YZA.
Okay.
It's for girls. 5AA is what you're saying.
Yes.
I need to be included when we have discussions like that. All right. I'll follow up with all the coaches. We'll go from there. Do we have a motion to accept this?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, team finances. The breakdown and the net gain of the coaches association is listed there. Going back to 2009, they started a new program, a new computer, and the financial reports are available online with the coaches association. And the above money has been used to subsidize a portion of the price of the awards with the section imposed and to assist with the funding of the coaches association annual scholarships and increase the coaches association general fund for things like the clinic and this meeting and the other things our association does. Do I have a motion to accept the financial report?
Do those monies, is that all generated from metal costs or how, what's that generated from?
It's generated from the entry fees that the True Team State makes and from our sponsors.
Okay, so the fluctuation is just due to the sponsorship dollars?
Some of it has, in particular, our primary sponsor is Elsmore, who pays us 1/3 of the apparel sales. And if they make a great choice on what they're selling for shirts, then we make a lot of money. And if they don't, then we don't.
Do they give us do they just give us a check or do they give us like a report with the
They
check?
give us a report and a check.
Should we put the report on the page as well?
We could do that as well. If the sum is actually included in the free
Yep.
financial report I do. And on my financial report lists all of the expenses.
This is just the final totals.
Yep.
This is just the
Not the
final,
breakdown.
yeah, the breakdown, but the actual report is available. If you want to go in and look at the line items for what we do in the awards, yes.
Where's the gate go?
Gate goes to South. The host at the True Team Station and their expenses. They pay for the facility and the things they do as hosts. Just like it does at the True Team sections. The host group. Any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the finances.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, section of state meet issues. We ask that most schools personally contact all the teams in their section and encourage them to attend the True Team section meets. We set fees at $105 for the section meets in 2014. Section award fees we set with an offset at $170. And we did that also in 2014, and our finances have remained steady since then. Question is, do we, at this point in time, do we keep our fees the same this year, or do we see a reason to make a change?
I mean, anybody in here that hosts a section meet, is that troublesome for them?
To me, it's not the amount, it's getting it. That's the toughest part.
From your AD or?
No, from
Other agencies.
other schools.
Oh, so getting the.
Getting the entry fee.
We hunt down for like 8 weeks after.
Does your AD send contracts up?
Just ABs.
That's doesn't.
That's an AD issue.
Yeah.
Because in our conference, the AD sends out a contract, when they send a contract, they get a check.
Doesn't happen in a regular session.
I just know from experience. Yeah. That's the general.
Some people send a check right away. It's
Yeah.
nice. We got one check already, but
But I mean,
most of the time it's.
I think it's bad for this. Try it.
Right, yeah, Luna Gold stuff, even the state meet stuff, we have 3 people that are out, that we sent emails to us last week that are outstanding this past year.
So then for the entry fee checks, who is that made out to? Is that made out to the whole school? or-
Yes, it is.
For the state meet, it's made out to the association.
Okay.
Since we have no discussion to change our fees, do I have a motion for the fees to stay the same?
I'll make a motion for the fees to remain the same.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Our current sponsors are Trapper Gym, Minnesota Swimming Incorporated, Elsmore Aquatics. Elsmore Aquatics pays 33% of their gross apparel sales to the Minnesota Swim Coaches Association. We generally get a report within 2 weeks of the state meet, and the check is usually sent within another 4 weeks, which is usually like a net 30 for us in the association. It's been a great relationship. They're very happy with it. They want to continue to sponsor the True Team. So we're thrilled with what they do for us in those relationships. Trapper Jim was our original sponsor, and he's also very, very proud to be our sponsor. And I was thrilled to death when MSI came in and wanted to be a part of what we were doing to try to build relationships across high school and club swimming. And I want to say, personally thank MSI. They had a caveat that we had to kind of deal with. They wanted the times from the True Team State Meet to be able to be accepted as legitimate in the U.S. swimming database. For that to happen, we needed to add additional officials. And we said that we wanted that to happen too, but we were out of cycle with our meetings in order for that to happen. So I worked with Hunstead, and they basically increased their sponsorship to us by an additional $500 to offset the cost of those additional officials, which came down to an additional $1,000 for us for both meets. And they found officials that were willing to work for a significant lower sum of money to make that budget work for us. So that was a great example of MSI working with us to create a better situation for our swimmers, for our kids. So I was really proud of what they did and how that came together. So that was a wonderful thing that happened.
So does MSI pay those the extra 2 officials directly?
No, we actually pay those.
So they gave us money and then we just paid them.
That's right.
Or actually Jeff pays them.
Yes. No, Jeff doesn't pay. Coach Association.
Coaches that pay, association
The
pays
money
those
goes-
2
The money
or
goes,
all
we pay the additional. Jeff
additional
pays, Jeff pays
the original?
the original officials, but we pay the extra officials.
That's what I wanted.
And they actually pull that off pretty quickly. And they realized that we were out of cycle. So it was just something we had to work on and get done. And I felt it was in the best interest of our kids that those times were added to the database. I have a motion to accept our sponsorship arrangement.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Chris, would you please give us an update on our scholarships?
For recipients this year, just like we've done for the last, I believe, 3 years. When we started out, we were only been out 2, but we've expanded 4 scholarships. We did have some more applicants this year, but like always, the boys seem to be lacking in submitting applications in comparison to the ladies. So, and then Kelly sits on looking at it with me as well as Ken Huber, and we score them out and we go from there. And they, you know, it's a lot of good kids out there that are swimming or diving.
Right, I'd like to thank Chris, Kelly, and Ken for working on this committee. I think the coaches are very proud of the fact that we're able to offer these scholarships. We at one time talked about trying to have a girl and a boy from each class receive these, but you've had to adjust that based on
Sometimes,
applications.
yeah, based on applications.
On applications, and
Gender and class.
people, gender, and class. At the business meeting for the Coaches Association, there was talk of possibly expanding this, and I spoke against doing that until we had an accountability of what our finances were. I personally believe that our officers should have a 5-year financial plan, and that we should. We're not a charitable organization. We're a 501c3, which means we're nonprofit. And generally speaking, there are guidelines for how much money should be in reserves, and we shouldn't be operating on everything comes in, everything goes out. We should have operating funds in our budget for a specified period of time in case we run into bad times again, like a recession or 9/11 or things like that happen. I think our officers should, that executive committee should decide what that financial reserve should be and then plan a budget over 5 years. And we should do good things for swimming. And if that means, for example, bringing in more well-known speakers, and that's expensive because you have to fly them in and put them up and do those kind of things. I think scholarships are a great thing. What we do right now with the 4 scholarships dividing by class and gender works pretty well. If we add 2 more scholarships, that kind of turns the apple cart over on that. Do you go to the next best deserving kids, or do you make sure one is A and one is AA? You know, some of those things need to be threaded out. But I think that we have some work to do. I also specifically was concerned about deciding to spend more money on scholarships until we resolved our debt issue with Minneapolis South. So we knew where we stood. And I wanted to be honest about that. And I just think that we should take care of our obligations before we start looking at expanding what we're doing with the income we have. And to be fair, the large part of the income that we have in this association has been generated by True Team. Prior to this, we were a hand-to-mouth organization, and we oftentimes didn't break even on the things that we did, even with the fees that we were charging for the state banquet and for the clinic. So this has been a blessing for us, but money kind of has a way of being a two-edged sword. When you begin to stockpile some of it, people tend to look at it with envious eyes and want to do different things with it. I think scholarships are great, but I also think that we should do the best we can to promote our coaches in our association as well. So that's kind of where I'm at, and we'll address the Minneapolis South issue here in a couple of minutes. thank you for doing that. So right now we're at 4, and we're also looking at a survey which Doug will talk a little bit about.
So we're talking about-
Let's see that for additions. It just makes the meeting notes much easier.
Yes.
Okay, to keep together. All right. So do I have a motion to accept Chris's scholarship report?
So moved.
And discussion.
I want to, it doesn't have to be by gender and class, correct?
No, it doesn't.
I want to be clear
Yeah,
that
no,
that is
it-
what was stated.
It
Because you
has,
didn't
it
sort of say
hasn't, it hasn't.
No, it's been a guideline.
It's been a guideline, but not that,
Yeah.
it's not a requirement.
It's just
So
there's one
I
year-
want to, I just want to be clear on it.
I think there's 1 year that there weren't any boys.
Yeah, there was like 5 boys.
I just wanted to be
No,
totally
it's
clear.
been a guideline.
It's been a guideline and not something that they have to do.
Right.
And that's, thank you.
Yeah, the committee has the power to make it
Yep.
the right
I
decision.
just want to be,
Thank you for making that clear.
yeah,
Because there may be people out there that are wondering
Right.
about that.
it was a little vague.
We appreciate that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. True Team Committee business. In 2017, we established a penalty for not following the True Team Charter as enacted, and the whole schools that don't follow it will pay full price for awards. We also, in 2017, the True Team Advance form was added to the section Host Responsibilities. This has gone well. Those additional things have been added into the host information, and it's been very helpful for people who have been doing the archive because they know exactly where every team stands and they have all the contact information, and it's worked out really well. Do we have a need for any changes?
But I forgot, what's the history of, how do you not follow the True Team Charter as enacted? What
Yeah.
happened there?
What was happening is when we were talking about pair and share, there were some teams that were supposed to split and go to different sections. And True Team, host teams were allowing those teams to come and compete as one team with their section.
Or that team was the host team.
Yeah.
I think that happened once.
So they weren't splitting when they should,
Ah,
because it's the end of the season and during the year they're together. And then at the end of the season, they're supposed to split, but they didn't want to. They wanted to stay together for True Team.
Obviously, that could impact the results of True Team as well.
Yes.
okay, so that would be an example, or that, I mean,
That
what
was
would
an
be, I mean,
That's
want
what's the
to-
definition of as enacted? I mean, that would be one, I guess, but,
And
that was the-
in one case, it was a team that had 3 kids that were supposed to go to another section,
Hmm.
but they didn't. And they said, well, then how do I send 3 kids to a different section? In some cases, there were larger teams that were able to do that.
mm,
And it kind of changed the outcome of the game.
mhm, mhm.
Or it could, we would. So we want people to follow the chart.
Okay.
Thank you for that question, Brian.
But I think it's a good point.
It is, but we still want people to follow the chart.
No, I know, but as far as
Yeah.
that,
The reason that this was put in
that infraction, I think.
has been eliminated by the. Okay, do we have any other issues that need to be addressed? For us? All right.
Scoring. Make sure everyone's scoring it correctly.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That comes down under additions.
That comes down under the guy that's running the,
No,
scoring at the end.
Okay.
I guess, yeah,
Correct event center.
the one team in a section came up at the clinic. I was gonna put that under additions, but does that go here? I noticed we're talking about section meets there.
What's your question again?
Well, if only one team shows up for your section meet,
Mhm.
and it's obviously gonna be the host school, I'm assuming. I thought at the clinic, somebody said, well, you have to run a meet. To me, that seems completely
Irrelevant.
illogical to run a meet with one team.
No.
So I was just gonna see if that's like actually what we have to do.
Well, there's some complexities there where somebody may say nobody came. Or, I mean, you have to go through the legwork of setting it up and send out the invitations and then technically something has to happen for you to advance. You just can't say we're the advancing team.
Swim the medley relay.
Yeah.
Be done.
Okay, I mean, okay, that,
You beat
something like that,
yourself
but to
up
run a
on
whole
that.
meet with one team just to see it,
Yeah, it's-
that's
I'm
like,
just saying,
okay.
Right.
You can have a practice.
having
Okay.
divers compete. That would be it.
Something has to happen, you know. Right.
Yeah, but from an A, if I was an AD and you're saying that something has to happen, does that mean that it has to be official? Because then the officials are gonna have to show up, and why should they pay for officials
Right.
if there's only one team there? Because if I was an AD, I'd be like, I'm not paying this guy $70 an hour to run an inter squad meet.
Right.
Well, whatever.
Well, it's 70 between the two.
Between the two,
It's
you know.
between the two.
Between the two, it's
I mean, as an athletic director, I'd be like, absolutely not.
I wonder if you would just not,
But then is it official? I mean, what I guess that's probably what your question is. What do you have to do
could you get away?
in order to advance? It doesn't make any sense to host an event.
If nobody else enters, then wouldn't that be a forfeiture? And then you automatically advance?
right, because you've shown your intent by hosting.
Just run a program.
Or you have to send out all the meet information if nobody else
You
comes.
still
Still
have-
have-
your
you still
entries
have
are
to
in
do
there?
the logistics, yeah.
Right,
Everybody
so I mean,
else-
you've done your due diligence and the other teams for whatever reason are going, we're not coming, which has happened.
Right.
I didn't see the logic in having to run a meet with one
I think you
team.
have to do the pre-meet logistics.
Okay.
Like send you the entry list or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and send the entries.
Right.
Well, that makes sense. Everybody has the opportunity to come, but if they choose not to, then we have to run our pool. I'm not gonna rent my pool for
After,
$100
yeah,
an
after
hour.
the entry deadline, then there's no entries, except for your own team. At that point, the other team.
Yeah, usually that's deadline.
Yeah.
Don't get the checks either.
So your team could do like red versus black. We could.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, do I have a motion
That'd be fun.
to accept our true team business as we have it stated here from 2017?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion? Thank you, Brian, for delineating that. That's very nice. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously.
Be non-controversial.
State meet medal
I'm gonna say
inventory.
no, just for something.
Jeff, Chris, and I did an inventory of the medals with this year's True Team State meet. And we ordered large sums of medals because of teams like Wayzata and Stillwater. Sometimes would have over 100 people receiving medals. And we wanted to make sure that we had enough on hand for every kid. But Stillwater and Wayzata don't always place in the same places, so we've accumulated a massive storehouse of True Team State medals. At this particular time, it is Jeff and Chris's opinion that we do not need to order any True Team State medals for this year, for this season. And then last year we adjusted that downward, and so I will do my
Now,
best.
will the awards company allow us to not do that and still have our locked in price or?
Yeah, I believe so. Last year, they understood. and they adjusted the pricing for us based on what we did. Bid. And we are in a 5-year contract with them, so they're guaranteed that what the metals they have on hand will be sold at some point in time. So they've been very good to work with, and I believe that I will take care of it personally. Dealing with them.
Yes, it doesn't.
Are you saying for the 4 state meets or for just
We have
girls?
enough.
We have enough for all 4 state meets.
Yes.
And who's storing those?
Right now, the U of M was
Nice.
because we left them there. Kind of didn't give them a choice, but it was at my house.
They're okay with that?
Yep, they're fine with that. So I'm very grateful. No longer at my house.
Plastic bins? Did we ask for the inventory?
To make a couple of
Okay.
trips to do that?
No,
Okay, well, in there.
it was my car was.
Down
Yeah,
the
it was. Yeah.
They're heavy.
That's a lot of weight, I was just saying.
Yeah, he was building some muscles carrying them in. All right, may I have a motion for the awards for this year?
I'll motion. Do not order any true team state medals.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second. Third, fourth, and fifth.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Item 10, Minneapolis South. $1,000 requested to offset the cost of officials' increased cost of using the University of Minnesota Aquatic Center. At the 2013 Summer True Team meeting, our committee approved the following. Here's what it says. The True Team host school requested Jeff Sanders, Minneapolis South, who has served as the True Team state meet host coach, has requested financial assistance for the True Team to offset the increase and to help pay for True Team state meet officials. The motion was made by Chris Arseth and seconded by Brendan Luke to pay Minneapolis South, the True Team state meet host school, the sum of $1,000 to offset the increased fee to use the University of Minnesota Aquatic Center and pay for the True Team state meet officials. So the motion passed unanimously. Our treasurer does a great job and is interested in complete transparency. Asked Minneapolis South for a report of income in order to be paid. She never received a report, so she never issued the checks. It was brought to my attention that by Jeff this past year that we hadn't been paid for quite some time. This year, the check was issued. But in complete honesty, there needs to be a record. Kate can't just say, write a check without having some sort of a paper trail as to why this check is being written. I also think we kind of want to know what's going on. It's like, I write a complete report. It has every payment we make. I think coaches want to know what's going on and what's happening. So,
What do you mean?
number one, I think people want to know, what we're paying for the aquatic center. I want to know what the gate is. I think people want to know. We want people to see what we're paying for officials, and we want to know the true cost of that meet and what it takes to get that job done. There.
When did that change?
Yeah, I disagree.
When we started this, that the inception was to get the meet, to do the meet, and now since somebody's asked for money, now we've changed to we want everyone to know everything about it.
If we're running this meet and we're putting our name on it, I think we should know what it costs.
But we have no skin in the game.
I
We're
just-
not gambling anything.
I think if we do that, then you have to ask all 16 teams to produce a report. And I don't think we want to be in the business of making
No,
sure.
we don't, but I do think that if they're not solvent on this meet, I think we need to help them if that's the case. I don't think this is a takeaway. I think it's a balance and understanding
Why can't he just provide you an invoice for the officials?
I think that should suffice, the paper trail of it. And I think if he wants more in the future, then we could say, give us some transparency or whatever. But I think for how many years has South hosted this meet, and we should all be very thankful for that,
We are.
because going somewhere else, even to Fargo, would be a burden, right? So I think personally, it's my belief, I think all we need is an invoice for $1,000 starting 2013 on for those officials, because I don't think it's our business to be inside the money of other teams and how they run their meets. Because I should have to as a host, and
Yeah,
Dinah
'cause
should
then
have
we
to
should
as a
do it
host.
for the section meet is what you're saying.
Yep.
We don't do this for the section.
And-
meets.
and-
So,
and
I don't want to do the paperwork for the section.
And the
meets.
coaches association name is on all 16 meets.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm getting a discount on awards probably, right? But I'm not producing a report to you based on my financial gains or losses for this meet.
We have asked the sections, we have a caveat, we have a stipulation in the charter that allows sections to ask for assistance if they don't break even.
Yep.
But they have to submit a report so we know what they lost, in that situation too.
And I don't
But
remember.
that was already in the charter. That we're asking wasn't in the request.
No,
I don't know a time that South has been a participant in any of the 4 state meets either. So we're asking a lot of their families to
they
commit
do
here.
a ton. They really do.
And I hope they're getting huge windfalls for their program financially, but I just don't think it's fair to ask them to produce an overall report unless they ask for more than this. I mean, it's pretty easy for us to say officials are going to cost $1,120,
$120,
$560.
$560, so $1,120.
1120.
So I mean, it's pretty easy to know what that is, and that's fair, I think.
Well, my primary concern is that we live up to the agreement we made and that they get paid. I think that's important.
Okay, so then the additional discussion is, so then there should be no additional discussion then on item 10, it's paid. Correct? Is what you
The
say?
motion should be that our coaches association should pay Minneapolis South, what is it, we owe them? $5,000. End of discussion. That, in my mind, and I'll make that motion if we need to.
And then additional,
If you want to go on additions and required stuff, that's another thing.
So then I think he should fall under this, or South should fall under the same guidelines as any other host team, that if they aren't making ends meet, then they produce a report for further monies.
And that would be under the additions part here in number 11. We'd make that motion. Right?
Well, yeah, we make that motion under additions, but it should say in our charter, any host school, not just section host schools. I don't know what it says, but it should be any true team meet host school who can't make it financially can request money by providing a report.
From this time forward.
Yep.
But we shouldn't do it in the past.
Right. Missed it. Stepped out and I didn't realize I was speaking.
I just feel always really indebted to Minneapolis South for hosting all these meets.
Right.
When you host it, I know our boys program, we host all the time with the boys, and Chris has stepped up with the girls, and we alternate. Just hosting it is work every year. And they host 2 meets a year.
At the U.
At the U, all day long. It's not even like it's not in their backyard. I mean, it's sort of
days,
is,
it's
but
multiple days.
But you got parents driving
Different
down, paying for parking,
yeah.
taking time off for a meet that they're not in.
Well, and I think it's more than just breaking even, folks. I think that they're giving up a whole day to be there. They need to make a decent profit, to be honest with you. They need to make a decent profit. At the true team section meets, we don't want people to lose money.
Mhm.
Because they're putting the meat on, we want them to have the ability to advance teams to say, I think at the state meet, there needs to be a reasonable profit. And I don't know what the amount would be for a reasonable profit, but they do need to be able to make a reasonable profit.
Should be an incentive for them.
Exactly. There should be an incentive there for them to host.
Now, Rick, I think one of the concerns we talked about was that we don't know how much the meet costs to run. And what if South ever backed out and then, we're holding the bag essentially.
So it's not gonna be the same price, like.
No, because of the Minneapolis clause, they get a cheaper rate on the aquatic center, so.
They removed that for the Chisholm State meet. They no longer get that price for the
Oh, is
Chisholm
that
State
true?
meet. No. They still get that for the maroon and gold. They don't, we're paying the regular price for the Chisholm State meet, even though South is hosting. That clause is, you removed that because it's not.
Another team could host it.
The U doesn't want that, from what I have understood.
The U is comfortable with South.
Right, they've done it forever.
Right.
Right.
But it's just, what if? What are their expenses so that we know how much we're gonna get into?
Well, and I think that Jeff's made a good point. If they want to ask for more money, then maybe we need to see numbers then.
Yeah, we agreed to the 1,000.
We should pay
them that, yes.
That, I will make that motion.
Okay. So then
So I make a motion to pay Minneapolis South program $5,000 for the 5 years that somehow that we missed paying them. No strings attached.
We do need an invoice for their officials. We do need an invoice for that.
so let's,
Can't just write a check.
no, they should invoice us for it.
Well, once they, okay,
Just
once they
for
invoice-
officials.
Invoice, yes.
Just invoices for officials.
Kate needs it for this.
Well, and actually, the money was requested to offset the increased price of the aquatic center and for officials. To pay Minneapolis South the $5,000 we agreed to. Then invoice.
So are you saying they can just send us an invoice with the total 5,000 and have on it for officials? And that would make Kate
Right,
happy?
but it should list the years.
Should list it here.
It should list the years that weren't paid.
It could, officials 2013.
Okay. So Jeff Mace has made a motion to pay Minneapolis South the $5,000 we agreed to.
Once they invoice for the officials for each year.
Okay, that's great.
It should be for each year we miss the payment.
Well, I like each year because then that'll carry us forward.
Start pressing.
That verbiage carries us forward, so that next year, they know they have to send it at that point in time. Okay,
I'll second that.
Dodgers a second. Any further discussion on our debt? All right, all those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Off the record, I think Jeff should be made aware the only reason we need invoice is just for Kate's purposes. That we're not trying to
Transparency from the
transparency
association.
and-
Yeah.
and
It's like a bill.
for secretary or whatever. We're not trying to dig
It's
into
not,
his
it's
finances. and I
not,
think we
it's
should
not
make
for
that way.
Kate, it's not for Kate, it's for transparency and a paper trail, so we know what's going on. Yeah, and she does a great job, and I completely understand where she's coming from, that she doesn't want to just write $1,000 check. And then on that invoice, it would have where she's to remit that payment and, all those kind of things too. Who the check should be made out to, so on and so forth. Okay. I feel much better that that's been addressed and that we have that taken care of. And I think every person here, as well as any team that has swam at the True Team State Meet, is very thankful what South has done. And without them on board, taking on the responsibility of hosting the True Team State Meet, True Team wouldn't have happened, to be very honest. All right. We have some additions for our meeting today. We'll start with Doug on the surveys.
So I'm passing out, we talked about this at the business meeting in May, about a survey just regarding some things that people were bringing up they wanted to know about True Team. There was a discussion about tech suits, why people weren't going to their section meets. So this is the Google survey that I put together. And then there was also a question at the business meeting about the scholarships and either getting info about what people think if they want to add scholarships, or if if we have enough money to do so. I haven't put it out yet. No. No, sorry, Jeff. No. Yeah. If we do put the scholarship rider on there, I'll let you know the result of the South discussion and what we're going to do. So, if you have any comments or anything, questions, or if you think it should look differently, certainly give feedback.
Or if you have additional questions.
Or if you have additional questions you think we missed, you want to add to this survey. It's just an effort to try to learn more about kind of how we're doing and why people aren't showing up to their section meetings. We want everyone to be there.
And what do you do with this once you get it?
What do you do with it?
No.
We're just gonna. It's basically just gonna be, information. And
Discussion.
then we figure out what to do from there. I
So
don't
when
know.
we open it up, I mean, so once we get the results, would it be something we discuss at the business meeting next year or at the True Team meeting or what, where?
I think people would want to know the results. So yeah, we'd probably, like I said, we're not going to post the comments, but we could definitely post the actual, results of what people put in. Because we wouldn't tie names or anything to the results, so we just see anonymous results. And then we could take the comments, as True Team committee or executive committee, and look at those and see if there's an action to be taken, something we can do to solve some of the issues that are occurring in some sections. And then bring that up at the business meeting.
Is this up for suggestions?
Oh, yeah, Jeff, yeah.
So I see, wearing tech suits at True Team sections, where is the question about True Team state? So,
Yeah.
how many more?
So just put a slash in there.
No, it should
No,
be a
add
different
another
question.
question.
Should be a different question. Or what percentage of kids wear tech suits? Some people might just.
You maybe just make the same questions, but do it for state as well, and then don't require an answer, because obviously not all of us go to that, but.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. All three of those, is there 3 questions?
Mhm.
Those 3 same questions for.
I would also like maybe, did you decline wild card advancement,
Okay.
and then why? Just curious why people decline.
I think it might be easier to organize as well if you do it by section, so email, names, school, and then section, like
Sure.
6AA or whatever it is.
Yeah, then
Section
you can sort
and
it.
classification. Because some schools are in different sections.
Well-
One of those now, but,
Oh, okay.
you know, like they might be 1 for girls and 2 for boys or something, so I think that the section they're in.
Yeah, that's another question too. If you have, multiple teams, do you answer for, one team or do you answer for both teams? Yeah, that's,
I think I'm a little concerned about number 9. It says, do you feel your team had to wear Texas in order to be competitive? I'm not sure people will understand where they're wearing these tech suits. Is it a section? Is it a state? Is it the regular section meet? Is it?
Well, split that into 2, put it
Split
in
it,
sections and then make
True
the
team
second
sections.
So it's
Yeah.
gotta be specifically true team
Right.
questions, because I think it's everybody, not everybody.
Should
wears
be
tech.
true, everything should say true
Right.
team sections, and
Number
another
8.
question of true team state. Or true team. The true team invitational review.
All right. Doug, thank you for doing this. You have a motion to send this survey to our members
With,
with the
With the
changes,
with some
with
changes,
the amendments.
with amendments pertaining, splitting sections and state into different questions.
Okay, so Jeff, that's your motion?
Well, no, it's his really, isn't it?
No,
Or mine, yes,
he
mine.
He prepared the.
Yeah, my motion, that's fine. So I think it's a good survey. I just think it needs to be a little bit more specific
And it's
as to
simple
which
and
meet.
quick.
Yep, it looks simple and quick.
I will second.
Timeline on this. I don't think now's the time to send it, because people have their brains other places. Maybe end of August, September. When,
I can send it now, we can send it again, we can send it multiple times. We'll have a record of who answers what, so if there's duplicative answers, we can just.
all right,
Now, here's one of the questions that I have. Are we sending it out to all coaches or just coaches in our association because of the fact that we might want to get,
well, I think those other opinions are important too.
that's what I'm saying, is
Yeah.
that, did your team attend, why or why not? Some of the people that didn't attend, it might be that they're not a member of the association and they just don't attend for whatever reason.
Then you're gonna have to definitely resend it again in August, because a lot of those school web pages, they're not accurate
Yeah,
at this point.
so we'll send it to the association first, and then we'll make a push to get email addresses for new coaches.
Because I think that that's where our disconnect is that we've got a lot of new coaches, and whether they're members of the association or not, they get lost in the email trail. We use the same lists that we've used year after year. Either the brand new coach and email's inaccurate, or the email that's up on the website is for the athletic director or secretary.
What I run into when I wanna get a hold of coaches is that the school will issue a school email address for a coach who's not on staff, and the person never uses
Yeah,
that
yeah.
email. So,
Because they probably don't even know how to access
and then you call the number, and the number
it. Is the athletic office.
is the athletic office, or worse yet, it's a voicemail system that they set up in the school system that he never checks. Or they never check, so I end up having to call the AD's assistants and asking for, cell numbers and things like that. And they're usually very helpful, those things. All right, I got a motion, a second, any further discussion?
Just want to thank you all for the survey.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
looks
you for
really good.
doing this, sir.
That looks very good.
That's great.
Can I just ask something? Are we thinking retrospectively on this past year when we're completing the survey? I mean,
I think if you filled it out tomorrow, you would think last year. If you're doing it September 1st, you might be thinking about your team.
well, I'm just thinking of new coaches who haven't experienced the true teaming yet.
Right.
I mean, if we send it out in August and they haven't even done a true team meet,
And plus
you're
with
gonna miss a lot of input.
realignments too.
Yeah, we got a whole.
I just think I was just thinking, what if you push it out after girls' true team, and then what if you put it out for boys' true team? That gives you time before the business meeting to collect the data. Or do it several
us
more
time.
times. Yeah, gives you. Yeah, no. No, I mean, I'm just
He's doing
thinking,
it for us.
totally. Just in terms of new coaches. I don't think it really matters, but,
The only reason it matters to send it out now is because it was requested at the business meeting to send it out.
right.
And actually, it was requested to send it out before this meeting, but
Well, then we could do a couple pushes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I
multiple
agree.
pushes is a good idea.
Can we do it 3? Do it when
Oh,
she says and do
yes,
it now? I
yeah.
think that would be, that might catch.
it's gonna take some time to get the new emails too, because we're gonna have to farm them from the high school, so,
Right.
the website.
Okay.
Or the school website.
Right, so, but if we send it to our members, then we
Yeah, we have 200 boys and
we know what ones you have to go looking for.
It's a pretty good, if they would all respond, that's pretty.
if you get 25% responses, you're still gonna get some information.
Yeah.
So,
And you never get 100% return on surveys. It's just not possible.
yeah, but
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Yeah. Kelly seconded.
So do you know how to
All right.
set up different pages? And if they answer this way, they go to that page. And
Chris brought this up earlier.
Okay.
We want to make sure that our sections understand that they have the correct events in their high-tech database. We had a glitch this last year with teams that did not properly put diving as an 11 dive meet. They had it in as a 6 dive meet. And what that did is that when we had applied the PowerPoints, the 11 dive scores that were in got PowerPoints for a 6 dive meet, which ended up being somewhere between 100 and 120 points extra per diver, which swings over a 300 point swing on a team's PowerPoints that we use for determining who the wild cards are. That ended up with us in a very tenuous situation because we had confirmation from the teams that were told that they could come, and then we figured out that the wrong teams were coming. And then,
Yeah, I totally get that, and I think Doug, Jeff, and I have all done that wild card. Nobody wants to make that call to anybody saying like, oh, hey, we screwed up. I honestly think that it needs to be the host that needs to make that phone call. Why does it have to be the wild card person that didn't screw up to begin with? I sat plenty of nights waiting for results to come in while somebody's out at Perkins or Applebee's or wherever it is. And I'm sitting there and, bless your heart, man, because I'm not doing it anymore. So if you want to do it, have at it, because it was not a fun. My wife and kids would literally leave the house. That's how frantic and chaotic it gets because people just do not do their jobs as the host. I think there needs to be a lot more than just, oh, we fixed the mistake, because I think we've been doing that way too long for these people that consistently always screw up. I think there needs to be a little more action where we're taking the meat away from them or something, because it's not fair to the people that are behind the scenes doing the grunt work to figure it out and correct their mistakes.
yeah, this isn't a this year only thing. I remember
No,
when
exactly.
I
That's
was
what I'm
doing
saying.
Minnesota Swimmer 15 years ago,
Yes.
there were people that were doing 6 dives instead of 11 dives. So the dive scores are all messed up on Minnesota Swimmer then. You know?
Yep.
And there's no way to really go back and fix it.
Is there a way that we can just make a meet file and send it out to the host schools?
that's been done.
It has been, okay. I mean,
people
yeah.
don't use it.
People don't use it
still
for the
make
high
their-
school league section when we send it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another
They make their own.
I mean, it's
They've been doing it
it's,
for years.
it's just, and a lot of times it's, if you have a people that are comfortable running the system, you let them take care of it. And as a coach, you want to coach. You want to coach your kids. You don't want to have to be running over to the table or checking the results to make sure everything's accurate and so on and so forth. So I mean, there's some things that may fall through the cracks, but like Todd said, this has been going on too long. We shouldn't be having meets of 14, 16, whatever teams that we're having at the state meet because somebody just didn't do their due diligence and checking the events prior. It's ridiculous. It's uncalled for. We need to hold some of these people accountable and say, you know what, if you can't do it right, and I don't know if it's some kind of strike system or something, like you know, 3 strikes and you're out, you don't host anymore. And I know it's hard to find a host, but Doug did 2 meets. He did a meet that wasn't even his one year because we couldn't find a host. But and I hate to say that, to take something away from somebody that can be a fundraiser or whatever you want to call it, but there's got to be, if we're punishing them for not following the True Team charter,
It's already
then
in
how are we going to punish? Then we have to punish them some way for not. And I hate to use the word punish, but we have to do something.
use the term accountability.
Yeah, well, on the front end of that, before we start punishing, I think in the form that Rick sends out this next year in big letters, it's gotta be parentheses, make sure diving, you click the 11 dive. And it doesn't, we don't need the semis, we don't need whatever, what is it, 11 dive?
Don't send a PDF.
Yeah, but no, which one do you click there, Chris? It's 11 dives and you get the choices of finals only.
Yeah.
11 dive, finals only, that should be in there. And if a diver only does 6 dives, please put their score in that 11. I know because when I did this, I would get files that had 6 dives and 11 dives.
Yeah, 2 events.
2 events, so I'd have to go, you're not the first, you just missed it. Anyways, I would take the kids from the 6, move them to the 11, I'd change the whatever.
Yeah.
Back when we were doing this, the
I
other
will
format,
add this into
we
the
need
meeting.
to add
I will add it into the
That's good.
information. I'll put it in big letters.
big letters.
And the other thing.
So we're on the front end.
The other thing that plays into the cards is all the other teams that have already qualified and done their things right. They want to know who's coming. They want to know who are the wild cards. You
And
know,
Todd's been doing
which
a good
it
job of
should
getting
be.
posted.
We should be able to have that information like that.
Yeah,
But we're waiting until Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, even sometimes, or evening, because we've had some kind of snafu.
Actually, Chris, it's gotten a lot better.
No, I'm not saying that
This
it
is-
hasn't,
This has
but
been evolving, and from where we started, it's gotten a lot better. The sheets are posted, Todd's getting them up, people can see the scores, they can see the PowerPoints. Doug's done a great job. It was one glitch, and
no, it's not. It's been the same glitch. That's what I'm saying. What do we do to not keep repeating the same problem? If it was once, then we would have never had 14 teams in True Team.
I mean, I would imagine Doug is going to look now every time into
it's
every
not
single
getting through the trap on this
every
one,
single
man.
database. He'll go in and make sure that it's an 11 dive.
But what do we
Neat,
do
right?
if it's not? How do we hold the host team accountable for that?
well, I think we're gonna have to talk to them. That's
I know the section that had the issue, so. Actually, I think multiple sections.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's more than one typically, because they just go diving. Boom. They don't look at
Well, and it's because you
differential.
have a parent running your, right?
Most more.
I mean, I'm gonna say as a host
And that
school for the
changes.
first time this
You
year,
might have posted it 5 times and done it right, and
Right.
then you have a new parent and it goes wrong for you. But the
But
coach,
it throws the PowerPoints off significantly when you've got somebody that's scoring 300-400 points in a 6-dive meet when it's supposed to be 11. And so then.
I think we start with making sure that
Let's-
they're aware of it in the meet information.
In big
I'll ask them,
letters, I think that
I'll
would be-
ask them to share the information, the email that I send them with their high-tech
There's
operation.
we communicate so much on this. I mean, obviously I'm doing the website thing, but I'm not a whole school and I'm getting all these emails that are so blatantly obvious. We still can't force people to read them.
Exactly.
Right? And there's a lot of big words on your sheet. There's a lot of increased size fonts,
I got a lot of them that are big on there.
right? And so we might want to revisit what we're increasing the size font
Yeah,
on to make sure that
I did adjust that last
Right,
year. I
but-
made changes.
it still comes down to,
Read it.
is somebody going to read it? And then even if I have a parent on my table it's ultimately my responsibility,
Absolutely.
right? I'm the only one that's paid in this whole deal, so I need to make sure it's right. So I can say, yeah, let's come down on the whole school, let's go down on the meet manager, whatever, but it should be
It comes back to the coach.
coach ultimately, right?
It's there, but
Yep.
We'll put in the meet information. We'll go that way. We'll see where it goes from there. Okay?
Yeah.
I like what you're thinking, and I understand where you're coming from, but I think we have to try specifically informing these people and remind them that they don't follow the charter.
If we, and keep a record of who's making the errors. And
Right.
We
And
can,
like you said, it's definitely going to be on Doug's radar now.
Or whoever does the,
well, and whoever does it will just make sure.
whoever
that,
does,
yeah.
I mean, I
And
know
that'll be in my list of instructions.
myself, Doug and Scott have always done it, just depending on how himself. But, and then
James.
Chris subbed a few years for me. And he subbed.
There's multiple people that can do it, but we just, that's the one thing, it's like,
I know.
that has to be, yeah, and I missed it.
All right. Do we have any other additions?
Oh, so this was brought forward just as a, I don't know if you want to call it a clerical thing, but so the state high school league gets a lot of questions, I shouldn't say answers, but questions about True Team State, but it's not their meet. So I think we talked about this a little bit, Rick, is that when you put state in front of it, that people, press, parents, communities think, oh, it's sponsored by the state high school league. And so then they get a lot of questions about, well, how come this kid was able to do this? They're supposed to be ineligible, blah, 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 this and that. And so I don't know if we just let them deal with those problems individually or.
Lisa's talked to me about it, and I asked, when Lisa talked to me about this, I said, talk to the track people and tell me what you find out. Because track does the same thing, but it's not an issue with track. The state high school league has just said, oh, that's True Team, that's different. We're the Minnesota State High School League. They haven't had any cross to bear on that, to be honest with you. And it's just simply said that's sponsored by the Coaches Association and it's True Team. So I kind of realigned ourselves with what they did in track, and we followed that. The Minnesota State High School League is the Minnesota State High School League. They're not the state of Minnesota. We're not the state of Minnesota, but our invite is an invitation for all of the teams in the state that choose to participate. If you win that meet, you're the True
So
Team
should it
state
be
champion.
called invitational? Because,
State invitational?
yeah, because I mean, it's not, if you're owned by the high school league state meet, it's not who chooses to attend, you qualify.
So, the state invitation, True Team State
Yeah.
invitation.
I don't know what you're saying.
Maybe it's a question to add to our survey.
I mean, the hard part though is, does changing that really change anything about what, because they're still gonna call it True Team State. I mean, that's, so, and people will go to the Minnesota State High School League about anything, and ask them questions, but I get the point, I'm not saying it's not a good point, it's just, I don't know that it changes anything. You'd have to not call it
Because
state
I
at all.
think like sometimes like, one of the questions was, well, how come Team X finished so high at the high school league state meet and they weren't even on, they didn't even score.
They didn't
Yeah, but I don't think that some of the general public doesn't understand that it's an invitational.
I don't think the general public, I mean, their interest is based on what they're following. People in swimming aren't all, they're not involved, they're not interested. People who are in swimming and know what True Team is, I look at track, we don't have an issue. I'm sure the league would like them probably to change it too. I'm actually meeting with some of those people this afternoon. So.
I don't think the state high school league hasn't trademarked the term state meet. So I don't know why
No, I don't
why I
think
don't think they can start arguing that
No, I
somebody
don't think
can't
they're
have a
arguing,
state
it's
meet.
just trying to delineate the two so that.
I think we do that with the word true team. I think we do delineate it with the term true team.
So then any questions that come forward to go to you.
Sure. On our end, and people have done that.
Right. Forward.
Yeah.
If somebody can't figure out why their team got different at one meet and another meet, they should be.
I have,
Well,
Set.
there are a lot more teams, that do not attend True Team, but do well at. And why they don't that's their own choice, but that have finished high at the high school league state meet, and I think that's where some of the question from the general public and some of the newspaper reporters is why aren't they going to True Team, or why aren't they in True Team? Well, it's an invitational. What do you mean it's an invitational? So you have to get invited to go? So it's just they just don't understand.
I have fielded a lot of those questions, and specifically from parents who want to know why their team didn't go to True Team. They're going, our team didn't go to True Team. Why
And
is that?
sometimes it's a
Why don't they ask their coach?
That's what I say. I go, every team is invited. Everybody has the opportunity to attend. Most coaches, they talk to their teams and explain what's going on their schedule. So, I mean, actually, there were a lot of parents that were really upset with a particular team. They ended up coming to True Team then because the coach was like, I didn't know they wanted to go. Kind of a big deal to make those things happen. So I think, why don't you add that to the survey? That, do we need to take the True Team state meet and give it a different name? So
or just add invitation. Well, I don't care. I might get a lot of no from some of the other answers too.
right.
It's the context I'm worried about. 'Cause I think it-
Well, if they're watching the meeting, those are probably going to be more majority of the people that are going to do the survey.
I'll add it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a better way to say that. The True Team Championship might be the way to just say it, not even.
But the question is the word state.
So it's the True Team
Doug, why
Championship.
don't you wordsmith a little bit?
Yeah.
Jeff, you have the ability to email him with your,
True Team Championship. Because you're right about the invitations, so let's just say, well, we didn't get invited.
yeah. Why didn't our team get invited to the state meet?
You were invited to the section meet, so, but True Team Championship.
Right. And the beautiful part of it is that it's all on the association page. You can go in there, you can read the charter. If people really want answers, they can find them, or I can direct them to where the answers are.
Well, the charter that we have up is from 1718, so we're a year behind on the charter.
Okay.
Because I was looking at that for the wordage on people can get help, and I don't see it on there. So I don't know if that was from our meeting last summer or not.
I have to go back through the minutes and figure that out.
So I was gonna raise my hand for an additional item once we're done with
Okay.
the additional items. So I can save that for an additional item. I put the new dates and the times based on the 1 hour earlier start on the website. If you want to look at that and double check for me. I just copied and pasted but changed the times. So that's live on the website.
And warm up. From noon or 5 p.m. 11, 12,
Warm up.
Warm up 11.
Yeah,
You
you
said
said warm up
12.
12.
All right, Todd, do you have an additional item?
Make sure you type it.
Yeah,
you
so,
didn't type what you
I
said.
think Tyler,
Okay,
I'm just saying it's exactly how we talked about it.
So we talked earlier about if teams are not able to make their ends meet or there was some other fancier word used for that. That was in the charter that they could request funding based on providing a financial statement. I don't see that
That would
in
be
our charter.
It would be in, I'd have to go back and look through the meeting minutes and find out when we did that.
Okay, so that I think should be added to the charter.
Okay.
And then likewise, I would like it to say any host team so that we can cover section or state teams that need help.
I do remember we did that one here.
Yeah, I remember we did it too. It's in the minutes, we just have to dig it out.
I think it's great that we do that, but I think it was said that was in the charter and it's not necessarily in the charter. So
Do we have to make a motion to add that to the charter?
If we've done it,
No.
if we've done it in the minutes, it's just a matter of going back and.
and so then
We haven't done it. And we-
But it's in the minutes.
Okay, it's definitely.
It's-
I remember.
We definitely did it.
all right, and then so once you get your time together, you want to give me the 1920 charter, and that's what we should have
Yeah.
posted.
Then we'll update and post the 1920 charter.
If there's an 1819 charter out there somewhere, I'll take that too and archive it. Because I looked through my email and I don't have an email from you for a 19 or 1819 charter. So
Yeah, I also have to update records. And I'll check and see if I have an 1819 charter too.
the records are a little behind. Girls 2016 and boys 16, 17. We're a few years behind on that.
I did go through and make some changes. I took out some of those specific year dates to make it so that things flows better from one year to another. I remember doing it. Those are the late nights at the computer. Those are things that have happened after midnight. If you get emails from me, you've seen plenty of early morning timestamps when things get sent out. All right. We don't have any other additions. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
And second. Before I pronounce the end of the meeting, I want to thank all of you for giving up your time. I understand that nobody's getting paid to be here. I know that as a coach, you have a very wide open schedule for the things you do. Share a little story. One year I was working with a custodian and he couldn't finish the setup for a meet before he had to go home. I told him to leave his tools, leave the chairs, leave everything that needed to be done, and I would take care of it. He goes, but we have to leave. We have to put all this stuff away now. I said, well, the beautiful part is I understand that you work by the hour, and if you stay long, the people in your union get upset with you. But I'm a coach, and they just pay me one salary, and I can work as long as I want. He didn't understand what I was saying, but I told him we were going to host the meet whether or not he was there or not, and that these things needed to be done and they would be done and everything would be put away. You guys give tremendously of yourself to your communities, to your teams, and I want to thank you for all that you do for the Coaches Association and all of the kids that you've helped become better people in your lives. We're not sure.
Thank you. Good.